I'm Dan Rather. A woman is convicted of poisoning 2 people to death by tampering with a common drug. But did the government get it wrong?
Remember the panic over Excedrin laced with cyanide?
What kind of person would devise a scheme to secretly poison painkillers?
Stella Nichol was convicted of poisoning 2 people to death and sentenced to 90 years in jail.
I did not tamper with any products.
One victim was her husband.
His death is due to acute cyanide poisoning.
I did not kill my husband.
This woman was framed.
These detectives are convinced authorities got it wrong.
She's been falsely in prison for 14 years.
To prove it, they say they need to find Stella's daughter. Troy Roberts investigates.
What did you think when you heard that your own daughter was cooperating with the FBI?
We have a daughter who sold her mother down the river for $250,000.
Should Stella Nichol be set free?
I don't think there's any chance that she's innocent.
I am not guilty.
A 48 hours mystery.
And I won't quit fighting until I prove it.
It's entirely possible that the real killer is still out there walking around somewhere, too.
Bitter pill.
There was a time when fears over product tampering were running high. People had died, and the pressure to put a stop to it was intense. It was in this anxious atmosphere that tonight's story began to unfold. Another tampering scare, more deaths, triggering a furious search for a killer. Stella Nichol was arrested and put in prison. But did the authorities, led by the FBI, put the wrong person behind bars?
Hello, babe. Middle of the night, I'll wake up, toss and turn, can't go back to sleep. Dug your pictures out. Wish the hell you knew how I miss you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Our life together was happy.
In a home nestled in the woods of Washington State,
I liked everything about him.
Stella Nichol cherished life with her husband of 10 years, Bruce.
The dreams that we had was to sit out there on our property in the middle of nowhere in the peace and quiet and grow old together.
But that dream was not to be.
Mr. Nichol, his death is due to acute cyanide poisoning.
Bruce Nichol is dead.
Stella Maudine Nichol was arrested this morning.
And Stella will very likely spend the rest of her life behind bars.
Stella Nichol was sentenced to 90 years in jail.
In 1988, Stella was convicted of killing Bruce and another woman by putting cyanide in Excedrin capsules.
Do we know the truth about this case?
No, because everybody is convinced that I killed my husband.
Did you?
No. I didn't kill my husband or anybody else.
Good evening. A bizarre and terrifying story today in the Chicago suburbs.
It was a crime chillingly similar to the Chicago Tylenol murders 4 years earlier.
Doctors found each victim had taken Tylenol, each had cyanide in the bloodstream.
7 people died. The case was never solved.
No one has ever been charged.
But it moved Congress to enact tough tampering laws. Stella was the first to be convicted.
It was quite a shock.
But now,
someone is going to take notice that this woman got railroaded. This woman was framed.
Private Detective Al Farr,
We're just doing what should have been done 15 years ago.
And his partner Paul Ciolino are on a mission to prove what they both firmly believe.
Absolutely no proof connecting her to that murder. None.
Stella Nichol is innocent. They've been traveling the country.
Hi. Did we come in?
Interviewing witnesses and friends.
Did she ever express to you she was unhappy in her marriage?
No. Her and Bruce were doing fine.
Talking to anyone who may help them reopen this case.
Had you ever heard her talk about killing her husband?
No.
When did you leave that?
They have a history of helping people they feel have been unfairly convicted.
How long have you guys been working on this case?
I've been working on it for 19 months now and a little better than 2,000 hours. Hi, I'm Al Farr. How you doing?
You're not getting paid.
No.
All of your expenses are out of your own pockets.
Yes.
Yes.
Why?
As far as we're concerned, she's been falsely in prison for 14 years.
And I will eventually get out of here and be set free like I was supposed to be.
Stella grew up poor in the Pacific Northwest.
We didn't have much, but we had family, and that's all that mattered.
Her childhood abruptly ended at age 16 when Stella gave birth to her own daughter, Cynthia.
I don't consider myself Mother of the Year, but I wasn't the worst mother that ever walked either.
Very self-assured.
Stella's good friend, A.J. Ryder.
Fun, wild and crazy gal.
In the next 12 years, there would be a failed marriage and a second daughter.
To me, I'm a normal, average, everyday person.
And then in early 1974, when Stella was 32,
I worked at the Hazelnut Cafe. He'd always come over there for lunch.
Bruce came into her life.
I liked everything about him.
Within 3 weeks, they were living together.
You wore a miniskirt on your wedding day.
Yes, that's what he liked to see me in. Up until he quit drinking, he wanted the miniskirts.
Stella stuck by Bruce as he overcame a serious drinking problem.
He told me, he says, I could see where I was going to lose everything I had, including you.
They were a hard-working couple. Bruce was a heavy equipment mechanic and spent time in Alaska working on the pipeline.
Hello, babe. Put in 16 hours yesterday. Colder than hell out there tonight.
He often sent homesick messages to Stella.
Laying here tonight, and God knows I miss you.
Bruce would tell her, go out and have fun while I'm gone.
But being apart was harder for Bruce than it was for Stella.
Just get kind of the feeling that something's not right at home.
But we had a normal marriage. Wasn't all a bed of roses. We had our ups and we had our downs.
After 12 years together, Stella says things were looking up.
We were making all kinds of plans.
Bruce had landed a job with Washington State.
So you were looking at spending the rest of your life with this man?
Yes, I was.
But then, one warm June evening in 1986, Bruce came home with a headache.
And he took 4 extra strength Excedrins. And I asked him, I said, why 4? And he said, because I have a headache, okay? I figured, okay, fine.
Stella says Bruce stepped out to watch the birds. Then he suddenly turned and collapsed.
Called 911 on the telephone, and I told them he's thrashing around on the floor. I could hear him.
Bruce was taken by helicopter to a Seattle hospital.
2 of the doctors came in to talk to me and tell me that they were going to lose him, and asked me if I wanted to see him. I told them no. I wanted to remember him like he was.
The doctor said it was emphysema, but to Stella, that never made sense.
My husband did not have emphysema.
But then, nearly 2 weeks later,
what kind of person would devise a scheme to secretly poison painkillers?
Stella heard about Sue Snow.
Police say the 40-year-old woman took a capsule of extra-strength Excedrin last Wednesday morning.
Reports said Snow died after swallowing cyanide-laced Excedrin.
Police are asking anyone with the correct lot number to turn in their Excedrin capsules.
I got up and I looked in the cupboard, and the lot number was on the bottles. I immediately called 911.
When we come back,
Stella killed her husband, poisoned her husband, and she got away with it.
How Stella, grieving widow, becomes a prime suspect for murder.
Money, just plain and simple.
We round up the sheep to mark them. That one's stubborn. Right now, we're shearing the sheep to get ready to sell the wool.
Warm, it smells good.
Haley Klein says life on her family's remote New Mexico ranch suits her.
This is the end of the world, but it's a great end of the world.
It's a far cry from the spotlight she was thrust into in 1986.
Criminal investigators do not know if Sue Snow was the intended target for...
That's when her mother was poisoned to death.
Who killed Sue Snow?
Haley has long believed that Stella Nickell was responsible for killing her mother and Bruce Nickell.
This is the photo of her arrest.
But now,
thank you.
After meeting private investigator Al Farr, she has her doubts.
That was the first time that I would say I truly felt really uncomfortable.
Why are you so confident in her innocence?
Lack of any credible evidence against her.
Prosecutors were able to persuade a jury to convict her.
Smoke and mirrors. Lots of smoke.
If this woman is not guilty, I don't want her to sit in jail. I mean, that's not right.
So do you encourage them to investigate this case?
Sure. Yes.
Sue Snow was an energetic and popular bank manager. Haley was 15 when she was murdered.
My mom woke me up every morning.
They were alone in their suburban Seattle home, just beginning their day.
She came into my bathroom and, okay, you know, and I love you, I love you. We always did that thing, and I gave her a kiss. And then she went into her bathroom.
As Haley stepped out of the shower, she sensed something was wrong.
I noticed that her water was still running, and I knew it wouldn't have taken her that long to brush her teeth.
She ran down the hall and found her mother on the floor.
She just looked like it caught her in a moment of, you know, sheer terror.
Haley called 911.
I think my mother fell. Okay, see if she'll talk to you. Tell her to talk to you. Okay, if she will, come back and tell me. Okay, hold on.
Emergency room doctors were baffled. Within hours, Sue Snow was dead.
An autopsy assistant noticed a faint and fleeting clue which few people can detect, the distinct smell of cyanide. A test later confirmed her suspicions. Sue Snow had been poisoned to death.
Looking for a source, police found Excedrin capsules in her home that had been laced with cyanide. Dozens of investigators from the FBI, FDA, and local agencies
Can I come in and talk with you about Excedrin?
Swarmed the area.
Any over-the-counter capsule medicine should be suspect and should not be used.
Tens of thousands of bottles of pain relievers were swept off store shelves.
It's scary. It is really scary.
Eventually, 5 bottles were found with contaminated capsules. 4 Excedrins, 1 Anacin. Former Auburn detective Mike Dunbar remembers the pressure.
My instructions from my administration was that I had a blank check to spend what I needed to, but get to the bottom of it.
But you hadn't heard that before.
I'd never heard that before.
I was at the burial thinking, what does this crazed murderer look like?
At first, Haley assumed detectives were hunting a madman, striking at random.
I didn't rest very easy.
But Paul Webking, Sue Snow's husband of 7 months, figured they'd be looking closer to home.
What did you think when you got that phone call that your wife had been poisoned with cyanide?
Actually, I thought that it was going to get pretty unpleasant at that point.
He was right.
Early in the investigation, you suspected Paul Webking.
Yes.
Why?
His entire demeanor just did not strike me as consistent with what had happened.
I really got the sense that they thought Paul did it.
Sue's identical twin, Sarah, also suspected her sister's new husband.
We always felt like Paul tried to drive a wedge between Sue and anyone else she loved.
What was it like being in the house when you have these nagging suspicions?
Creepy.
About Paul Webking.
It was creepy and scary. Haley and I were scared to death.
He acted really weird. I mean, he did a lot of very strange things that upset us, and he got a girlfriend right away.
In spite of whatever happens, the last thing you want to do is go to jail, especially, unjustly, and so you become concerned about that.
Paul Webking agreed to take a polygraph.
You passed the polygraph.
Yeah.
He was eliminated as a suspect. Meanwhile, investigators had concluded that Bruce Nickell had also died from cyanide poisoning, and they began turning their attention to his spouse.
Stella brought herself into the investigation.
Next, the case against Stella Nickell.
considering that I was 44 years old and they give me 90 years, they might as well said life.
Stella Nichol is serving 90 years in federal prison for poisoning 2 people with cyanide.
I am not guilty, and I won't quit fighting until I prove it.
But investigators who work the case,
things just didn't look right,
insist they got it right.
Stella did in fact kill Bruce and Sue Snow.
Stella's story began back in 1986.
He says, babe, I feel like I'm going to pass out.
When her husband, Bruce, suddenly collapsed and died after taking 4 Excedrin.
He was in good health as far as I knew.
Doctors said it was emphysema.
I just knew it had to be something else besides emphysema.
And then, 2 weeks later,
police say Sue Snow took a capsule of extra-strength Excedrin last Wednesday morning.
Stella saw reports about Sue Snow's death.
Police are asking anyone with the correct lot number to turn in their Excedrin capsules.
She says she became suspicious.
I looked in the cupboard, and the lot number was on the bottles.
Stella then called the police.
When the officer came out, I gave him the one that was open.
Well, she says, well, you might as well take the second bottle with you.
Former police officer Ed Sexton took Stella's Excedrin in for examination.
2 different bottles, 2 different batch numbers.
It turned out both bottles had tainted capsules. Bruce had indeed died from cyanide poisoning.
Investigations are underway by the Food and Drug Administration, Auburn Police, and the FBI.
Her voice never cracked when she talked about Bruce.
From the beginning, Officer Sexton was suspicious.
Things wasn't adding up.
He said Stella told him she bought her 2 bottles of Excedrin at different times, probably in different places.
You know, that is kind of far-fetched.
Far-fetched because out of thousands of bottles checked in the entire region, authorities found only 5 with tainted capsules, and Stella had 2 of them.
Yeah, statistically,
something's not right. It's crazy to think that anybody could have that bad luck.
Greg Olson, whose book Bitter Almonds chronicles the case, says that's why the FBI zeroed in on Stella.
The FBI guys scratched their heads and said nobody could be that unlucky.
Stella brought herself into the investigation.
But why would Stella call the police if she already got away with murder?
Money, just plain and simple.
Auburn detective Mike Dunbar says insurance money. Bruce's insurance paid an extra $100,000 if he died by accident, including poisoning.
I think that she probably killed Bruce and then expected them to find out that he died from cyanide poisoning.
Investigators in Seattle say Stella's plan was foiled when Bruce's death was attributed to a natural cause, emphysema. They say she was desperate to establish an accidental cause of death, so she put poison painkillers in stores, hoping someone else would die, and the tainted capsules would be discovered.
And that's when Sue Snow came along and bought a bottle of Excedrin, and resulting in her death.
As the investigation continued, the FBI lab found an important clue.
You could see them with the naked eye.
Little green crystals mixed in with the cyanide. They turned out to be algae destroyer, a product used to kill algae in fish tanks. Stella had an aquarium.
Did you ever buy Algae Destroyer?
No, I have never bought Algae Destroyer.
Tom Noonan, the local fish store manager at the time, remembers it differently.
Do you specifically remember selling Stella Nichol Algae Destroyer?
Yes.
You do? No
Yes.
question about it?
No question, no.
The theory is Stella Nichol crushed those tablets in a bowl somewhere. Later, when she was going to do this product tampering, she used that same bowl without cleaning it out very efficiently.
Investigators were now certain they had the right person, but they had very little to take to a jury. They had no fingerprints, nor any way to prove Stella ever bought or possessed cyanide. Finally, 6 months after the investigation began, a key witness started talking.
It was Cindy. The turning point was Cindy Hamilton.
Cindy, Stella's oldest daughter, was born when Stella was a teenager.
Loving and close, I don't think so. In a lot of ways, Cindy was Stella.
Cindy had been in and out of Stella's life for years. She had a history of abusing drugs.
This was a competitive, combative mother-daughter relationship.
What did you think when you heard that your own daughter was cooperating with the FBI?
I wondered why. What is going through the child's mind?
Although Cindy never said her mother confessed, she told agents that her mother had spoken to her for years about killing Bruce.
She said you talked about feeding him an overdose of drugs.
I don't know anything about drugs.
You ever talked to her about cocaine, a cocaine overdose?
No.
She said you talked about hiring a hitman. Never happened.
No.
Cindy said her mother even went to the library to research poisonous plants and cyanide.
I started reading books to find out what plants I might have on the property that were a danger to kids and pets.
The FBI was able to lift Stella's fingerprints from a number of books.
That was pretty damning evidence that she had fingerprints all over these books.
Stella claims she researched cyanide after Bruce died.
I tried to look up cyanide poisoning and pulmonary emphysema to try to find out what similarities there were in the symptoms of the two. I never did find out.
Leading our news this morning, 44-year-old Stella Nickell was arrested yesterday.
A year and a half after Bruce Nickell died, Stella Nickell was arrested and stood trial in federal court.
The government's star witness has been Nichols' daughter, Cindy Hamilton.
It became emotional.
Mary Andrews was the jury foreman.
Cindy, she was a very believable witness against her mother.
Cindy testified it was painful to come forward, but she felt it was the right thing to do.
When she said that she remembered certain things that her mother had said, I mean, I could not believe she made those up.
Cynthia lied when she testified. When I was sitting there watching her the whole time, she didn't even glance in my direction.
Although the defense challenged Cindy's credibility, the jury believed her and convicted Stella of fatally poisoning her husband and Sue Snow.
Cynthia was the link that pulled all the evidence together and made it the most believable.
Stella Nickell was sentenced to 90 years in jail. She'll serve 30 before...
And Stella's daughter Cindy, the government's star witness, left town.
Nobody, her best friends, not a single person, knew where she went.
When we come back,
Cynthia has always liked money, but she's never really liked to work for it.
a startling new theory about Cindy's testimony.
We have a daughter who sold her mother down the river for $250,000.
That's next on 48 Hours.
That'll clear off the mostly sunny skies.
It's Mount Rainier, and that's an incredibly pretty area. That's kind of right over where Stella lived.
Al Farr and Paul Cialino feel they're making progress in proving Stella Nichols' innocence.
We have blown big, gigantic holes in virtually every aspect of the prosecution's case. You understand the conversation we're having right now?
They have spent months videotaping new witnesses.
She's driving, Al, come on.
And staked out old ones. In snowbound Wisconsin, New Mexico's high desert, and even Alaska.
Sunny Anchorage.
Cold Anchorage.
But along the way, one image has haunted them.
This is a photo taken of Cindy and her daughter Rachel in 1984.
Stella's daughter, Cindy Hamilton.
Cynthia knows that I did not kill my husband. She knows that I did not tamper with any products.
They need to find her.
Yes, but even if they do, there's no guarantee that she will change her story. Cynthia has never been one to stand up and say, I'm wrong. She's never been one to stand up and say, I'm sorry.
Cindy, it turns out, was paid a $250,000 reward for her help in the case against her mother.
You're telling me that she did this for $250,000?
Yes.
The reward money came from a drug manufacturer's trade association.
I mean, this is so unusual.
Exactly.
It's the biggest amount of money I've ever seen given to a witness.
So it may have made a difference in the jury coming to a consensus.
Jury foreman Murray Andrews.
It might have made Cynthia's testimony a little less credible, but I'm not sure.
Unlike most cases involving reward money, in this case, the enormous reward was never brought into evidence.
Well, they were able to convince the defense attorney that he should not bring this up at trial.
Stella's lawyer said nothing about the reward because a deal was made.
The defense agreed not to cross-examine Cindy about the money, and the prosecution agreed not to reveal something else, that Cindy said she came forward when she heard her mother failed a polygraph. And that was a full 6 months after the reward was posted.
You failed a polygraph test. What was going through your mind?
I didn't think that it mattered that much. I mean, I did not feel that I failed it.
The polygraphs aren't always right. There's a reason why we don't admit them into court.
Carl Colbert is Stella's new attorney.
Is there any record of the polygraph? Have you been able to see it?
I certainly haven't been able to see it. To this day, no one has a copy of this polygraph graph that shows that Stella failed it.
Stella's first lawyer said he never saw it either, despite repeated requests in 1988.
Now, my belief is that the polygraph was a ruse to try and coerce a confession out of her. You failed. Tell me what you know now. You just failed the polygraph. It's over.
You believe that they would resort to this kind of trickery at that point in the investigation?
All I know for sure is that we don't have it, and that leads me to wonder about what was done back then.
Is that an issue, Carl?
Back then, says Stella's new team, there was enormous pressure to solve the case.
We have a rush to judgment, a rush to name the bad guys so the public could be at ease and they could all go to sleep at night.
The detectives questioned the very reason why Stella became a suspect in the murders of her husband and Sue Snow. Remember how she called the police and turned over 2 bottles of Excedrin?
Why in the world would she have a second bottle of contaminated capsules just sitting there waiting to hand over to law enforcement?
The police say Stella told them she bought them at different times, probably at different stores.
You did tell them that the 2 tainted bottles were purchased at 2 separate stores.
No.
You did not say that?
I told them that I could not state where I had bought them.
You bought them both at Albertsons.
How do you know that?
I was there.
Stella's friend, A.J. Ryder, says she was with Stella when she bought those painkillers.
Yeah, it's a good boy. Bought 2 bottles of Excedrin, 2 gallons of milk, some lunch meat, and cheese.
Why would she buy 2 bottles of Excedrin at once?
It was 2 for 1.
The detectives discovered this FBI memo that seems to support AJ's account. It was found among 1,000 pages, never turned over to the defense. In those documents, there are reports of other possible suspects and mysterious fingerprints on Sue Snow's bottle. This memo mentions that Stella's 2 Excedrin bottles came from one store, Albertsons.
She bought them at one store. So there goes the theory of buying them, and there goes that odd.
And of course, this memo never found its way into trial.
The government says all required documents were handed over.
You want it now?
A.J. Ryder was never called to testify. She lived with the Nichols months before Bruce died. But by the time of the trial, A.J. says the FBI had convinced her that Stella was the killer.
They made me believe that my family could have taken any one of those pills and been a victim too, that she would have killed anybody to get to Bruce.
A.J. moved out of state, refusing to help Stella's defense team.
And I said, I have nothing to say to you, and closed the door in his face.
Please meet A.J.
But years later, while speaking out against Stella on television,
Stella took Sue Snow and Bruce.
But I don't
She killed him.
A.J. had a change of heart.
All of a sudden on this Sally show, I find out that the reason Stella's sent up is because Cindy testified and was given $250,000 for that testimony. And it all just kind of dawned on me, wait a minute, this was a whole setup.
Now she feels she's betrayed her best friend.
It's a hard pill to swallow, and I hope that Stella can forgive me.
Well, it's a little late, but at least she knows.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Stella didn't do it.
To Farr and Cialino, A.J.'s statements are valuable.
I don't believe Cindy has a conscience.
But now they need to find Cindy Hamilton.
I found her. I know exactly where she is.
That's later.
Cindy is the hinge-pin of this whole case.
In their efforts to free Stella Nichol,
The majority of my time is spent right now on finding Cindy.
Detectives Alfar and Paul Ciolino are close to finding Cindy Hamilton.
Cindy currently is located in Southern California. These are a partial list of names, so we'll have to find out which one is her.
Stella Nichols' daughter was paid a $250,000 reward for her help in convicting her mother.
To testify against your own mother, why would she do that?
The only reason that I can say that she done that is because of the reward money that was posted. My daughter never came to see me or call me or anything since a year before they arrested me.
After the trial, Stella reached out to her daughter.
You know that you were lying on the stand.
Through a letter she gave author Greg Olson to pass along.
I was just a kid myself when I was trying to raise you, and the crazy thing is, I do love you, even with what you're doing to me. She wrote this letter for me to pass along to Cindy. And of course, I never found her.
As the detectives continue to search for Cindy, they've been talking to other people who were rewarded for their role in the case. Stella's neighbor, Sandy Scott, became a spy for the FBI.
I was back in here in the woods. They had asked me to see if she was there, to see if there was someone there with her, any conversation that I could hear.
She was paid $7,500.
And I could see across through the trees.
I felt like they were trying to convince me that I really needed to help them because she was really guilty.
Sandy searched Stella's home for algae destroyer, a fish tank product found mixed in with the poison in the capsules.
I just waited till she decided to go to the ladies' room and open the cupboard door.
No one ever found algae destroyer in Stella's home.
There is no algae destroyer there. The jury never got to know about that.
I've always wondered if someone else did it and got away with it.
Do you specifically remember Stella Nichol asking you for this product?
Yes. Remember, it was the fish store manager, Tom Noonan, who linked Stella to the incriminating product. Noonan claims Stella bought so much algae destroyer, he had to special order it just for her.
Bullshit. They ordered it in bulk, like they did everything else.
He was paid a $15,000 reward.
There's no such thing as a special order in here anywhere.
The detectives showed Noonan his own store records.
So it wasn't a special order for Stella Nichols. Did he have an independent recollection? I doubt it. I think he had to be prompted and had to be shown what they were looking for.
Take a left.
As the detectives continue to investigate the murders, they're learning more about Stella's life, including previous brushes with the law. She once served 4 months in jail for check fraud. And when Cindy was 9, Stella was charged with hitting her with a curtain rod, bruising her legs.
Did you ever abuse Cindy?
I have not abused either one of my girls. I corrected them when they were wrong, but as far as abuse goes, no.
There's that record.
Yes, there is. She wasn't feeling good. She wanted to stay home. There was nothing wrong with her. I sent her to school, and she told the nurse that I had beat her that morning before she went to school. They arrested me. I was only in jail for overnight.
Stella was ordered to go to counseling.
Does she hate you?
I don't know if she hates me or not. I know that Cindy is jealous of me.
Why would she be jealous of her own mother?
She looks at me as another female, and she considers all females competition. And those were her exact words to me.
Did Bruce like Cindy?
Bruce accepted Cindy because Cynthia was my daughter. He thought the world and all of his granddaughter, which was Cynthia's daughter, Rachel.
In my young days, I spent more time with my grandmother than I did my own mother.
Cindy had left her daughter Rachel with Stella and Bruce for several months.
Granted, she might not be everyone's ideal, but she was my ideal grandmother. I mean, she loved me.
Rachel was 9 when her mother testified against Stella.
You know, a lot of people believe that she testified against your grandmother because of the reward money.
I see that as something she would do.
You know what you're saying?
Yes, I do. And I really don't want to say that about my mother, but it's true. She really doesn't care, you know. She's like, I don't care if she rots. She was a miserable mother, you know, I don't care if she rots in there.
It's been a long, long road locating her.
Next, on 48 Hours,
That's where she hangs.
Cindy's side of the story.
We will be visiting her very, very soon.
I mean, it's more than pictures. It was letters, airline tickets, cards.
While writing his book about the Seattle cyanide murders,
This is addressed to Babe, which is what Bruce called Stella.
Greg Olson ended up with many of Stella Nichols' personal belongings.
Now, here's a Valentine card, I love you, me, and that's from Bruce.
Mementos of happier days with her husband.
I look at Bruce and just the way he's standing there, you know, this is the love of his life.
And even some good times.
A loving message, mother.
With her daughter, Cindy.
And then Cindy wrote here, thank you for always being there and for just being my mom. There really was, at one time, a mother and a daughter that really did love each other. And how could it turn out so bad?
I can't really hate her because I brought her into this world.
Do you still love her, Stella?
I'm not sure. I know I'm supposed to. But I cannot really sit here and say I do.
There it is, off limits. That's where she hangs.
After 19 months of searching for Cindy,
Cindy is the key to solving this case.
Detectives Al Farr and Paul Cialino are finally ready to approach her.
Okay, here's where she lives back here.
We've got 30 seconds to try and convince her to talk to us.
That's it.
To their relief,
Okay.
Thank you.
Cindy invites the detectives in.
We had a 2-hour conversation with her about her mother and her role in putting her mother in prison.
Mostly, they say, she wanted to talk about herself.
Cindy's whole thing is, I'm a victim of child abuse. I wanted that story to be told. I was not allowed to tell it.
And while she doesn't change her story,
she basically stands by her testimony.
The detectives are delighted now to begin a dialogue with her.
I'll be back to see her soon.
Within a month, Al Farr visits Stella's daughter again.
She could sometimes be very, very skillfully evasive.
This time spending 13 more hours with her over a weekend.
Cindy, hi, I'm Troy Roberts from 48 Hours.
While she would not sit down for an interview with 48 Hours,
I have said everything that I need to say, I have to say to Al.
She did answer a few quick questions.
Was your testimony colored by the $250,000?
No, it wasn't. It was not.
Did your mother kill Bruce?
I made my testimony 14 years ago.
Was it truthful?
It was truthful. It was very truthful.
Cindy stands by her testimony that her mother had talked about killing Bruce.
Al has my permission to tell you anything I've told you.
While she never said Stella confessed, Cindy now tells Al Farr she's not sure her mother is really guilty.
Does she still believe her mother killed Bruce?
No. As of today, asked, do you think your mother did it? She said, I don't know. I don't know. I said, well, is that a yes or a no? She said, on balance, no.
And what I believe now, and what I believed then, we all change.
On the basis of their new findings, Stella's legal team filed a request for a new trial.
I don't think there's any chance that she's innocent.
But police investigators and the federal government still firmly believe that Stella Nichol is a killer.
She is guilty of these crimes.
I believe she is.
I am not guilty. I did not kill my husband. And I won't quit fighting until I prove it.
Since we first aired this story, a judge has denied Stella Nichol's latest request for a new trial. The detectives say they simply don't know who killed Bruce Nichol and Sue Snow.
More importantly, I know who didn't do it, and that was Stella Nichol. Thanks a lot. Be good to yourself. Thank you very, very much. This case has taken up an awful lot of my life and will continue to do so until the day I die. I will never give up working on this case.
For now, that gives Stella Nichol hope.
It's just a feeling. I have the feeling on the inside that eventually justice will come around and be done right.